We are not like anything like moves and stuff like that. It's going on what is the fun and somebody asks so much. And I'm like, oh my God. That's awesome. So we go back on Sunday and guys like, do you have any experience that the wind are 20 miles per hour? It's not going to let you go out of the way. Really? So, we said I
think we dealt with both. It's actually made yesterday. They were in 15 minutes. They read with them. It's cold. You're going to have to stay. Oh, no. You'll be fine. Less than about 15 minutes. Are you here? This is the asphalt. The slice. I think so. Yeah.
You mean closed session?
Close session, yeah.
Wait, session is
Is Lori here today?
Yes, we just went to a boardroom, they showed us the checkbook.
Oh, okay.
She did.
Oh, yeah. Me, oh.
wow.
I didn't think Gino didn't do me. Not talking, okay.
I'm in the boardroom. Hi, Teresa.
No. So we're the only 3 years? We're the only 1, 2, 3, the other 4 from home?
Yes.
I think Mary's coming.
Here is not,
She online last time?
What about me?
No, there she is. I thought you were coming in.
Brad, can you hear us okay?
I sure can. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Hi,
good.
Brad. Now, it shows you blue muted.
You are muted.
Oh. Somebody else is. Oh, I'm supposed to join. Maybe it's not me.
Okay, so I'm going to do now.
Yes, sir.
No, we still
I'm not used to sitting yet there, I didn't know who was. About 10 pages from the back, Elaine.
Is it?
You know what I do? I paper clip it every time.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So always search for it.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it right now.
Oh, your kids are doing that. Okay.
Yeah, they're good. The in-house way is just a few minutes.
Yeah.
I came out today at home, sleep runs.
Yes. Gino? Mr. Petropolis, can you hear me okay?
I was letting everybody know that I will be,
Good feedback over here.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
So, and we said now to walk to work and they got this.
Everyone's muted. Your sound is.
Nice.
So, section really, so, should have, you know.
Yeah.
Is that better?
To do, right?
Get all this done. And then I'll just give you the practice before we go to close. What's that?
Like an unused
Just whenever you are ready.
Here it is. You think I like it? It's free. It's right over I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lori's in hiding. Our lawyer said, our secretary Lori is sitting on the roll. Lori, can you take the roll call?
Mrs. Salter.
Here.
Mrs. Egan. And Mrs. Egan absent. Ms. Davenport.
Present.
Ms. Davenport, I see is there. Mr. Hellman.
Here.
Mrs. Callen.
Here.
Mrs. Lamel.
Here.
And Mrs. Petropoulos.
Here. Okay. Don't have any here. Yes, I guess. Lunch ladies. Today we have our luncheon hostesses here, a couple of them. Oh,
And also,
here. Okay, thank you for coming, and of course, the listeners, administrative team. Okay, we have no awards and recognitions, donations to the district. Potential board action to accept a $5,000 check from Partnership for Resilience to be used for the purchase of personal protective equipment for board policy 880, gifts to the district. And then another potential board action to accept $500 check from the Enchanted Backpack for Bridge Central School to be used towards teacher appreciation for board policy.
yes, and both of those will be separate items, but for the Partnership for Resilience, remember we joined that a couple years ago, and they were looking for ways to help out districts with the check, with everything going on, and we said we can use it for some more PPE for our staff and students, and so that's what that will be going towards. And then the $500 check from the Enchanted Backpack is really to be used for teacher appreciation, however, Ridge Central sees fit. And I know that we have some very creative people over there, so they will come up with some great ways to recognize our teachers. So if there are no questions, you want to go ahead and do 3.0.
So we can come in on the
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the $5,000 check from Partnership for Resilience.
Need a second?
Second.
I'll second. Lason.
You got to use that over here.
Ms. Davenport.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamel.
Aye.
And Mrs. Salter.
Aye. 3.1, need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I got that one. I think it's that line. Yes, we got. I know I can.
But I'll second.
we still have that committee.
Mr. Holman?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Egan?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Mrs. Salter?
Aye. 4.0, consent agenda. Minutes of the August 11th meeting, 2020 open. Minutes of the August 11th closed session, minutes of the August 17th, 2020 emergency meeting open, and there was no closed session at that time. We need a motion, right? Motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Mrs. Kim? Mrs. Kim? Mrs. Davenport? Mrs. Lamb?
I have a real quick question. That's not just for that, for all the consent agenda on the second page.
Yeah.
Correct?
Ms. Lamb, can you unmute yourself and ask the question?
Okay. That's not, it's just, it's the consent agenda, including the minutes and the second page, correct? All the payroll and everything.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, then aye.
Egan?
Okay, then aye.
Mrs. Mrs. Salter?
Aye. I said aye.
Okay, thank you.
Superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for all of you who are here tonight. Our first item up is 5.1, our school and department reports. And it is nice to talk about school-related items again, and having kids come in and pick up the materials for this year, as well as some of the things that happened the first couple of days. I talked about one of the things that I was most happy about this week is walking through the hallways and hearing the enthusiasm from the teachers and getting to see some of the kids on the screen and realizing that for some of them, that's their first contact in many months with some of their classmates. And we all know that it's not the same as it is in person, but kids still want to be around other kids and interact. And we're really making sure that we try to encourage that. And so hopefully you got to see some of the classrooms and some of the setups. We have some really creative teachers who made sure they really made their rooms as inviting as possible. And as you walked in today, hopefully you also saw that we have made sure that our buildings are prepared. You saw signage, you saw water fountains over here that are covered. We have bottle filling stations in other places. But when we can return to in-person, we want to make sure that we are ready to hit the ground running. So those are the types of things that have been going on. If you take a look at our enrollment report for this year, and that's something that was very important to us, was trying to ensure that we were going to have contact with all of our students and that nobody was left behind. When you don't get to see them in person, you get nervous about that. But we have an enrollment right now of 1,439 students. This is a decrease of about 40 from June of last year. And last year's enrollment at this time was 1,453. So we're down about 14 students. Some of that are people moving. We also had some people who did decide to homeschool for this year. I think districts all over the place have seen that just because they want more control over the hours that their kids are going to be participating in learning, as well as what they're going to be teaching them. So a lot of elementary schools in the area, when I talk to them, they have seen some of that same drop. Very small, but a few kids moving in the homeschooling realm. Very excited that we're getting the PTA kicked off again. And I know Mrs. Willard is here. And we're going to have the first PTA meeting, like all meetings nowadays, via Zoom on Thursday night at 6:30. So this Thursday night at 6:30. And then we're going to have our first event. I know I had a great time participating last year with my family, but this year we'll be doing it virtually. And that will be virtual bingo on Friday, September 25th, also at 6:30. So we're excited to get some of those events kicked off. And obviously, we're going to have to be creative in some of those things. And the PTA has done a great job of reaching out and really already looking forward throughout the year to see if we have to do things virtually. Can we do it this way? If we can do it in person, we're going to do it this way. So I'm excited for some of the things that we're going to be able to pull off with that. For 5.4, vacant positions and possible staffing needs. In the packet, you'll see really the only things that are listed right now are substitutes, always looking for substitutes, and then as well as substitute custodians. So those are the two positions that are in there right now that we are currently looking for. And then 5.5, I just wanted to give kind of an overview of our school opening update. We're a full week in now. We just started our second week today, and the students' first day was last Monday, August 31st. As expected, we had a lot of phone calls on that first day, even though we encouraged people to try to log in ahead of time. Until it is actually that day and that time, you don't know exactly how it's going to go as a parent or as a teacher. And so we had a lot of calls those first couple of days as people were trying to get logged in. Those calls have definitely gone down quite a bit, both on the technology side and on the educational side, as far as Google Classroom and Zoom. And we really have our tech people helping with any issues on the Chromebooks. We have Mrs. Stapleton here at Finley Junior High who has been there to help the parents for any Google Classroom and Zoom questions. The district did have, through the printing of this, their attendance through Thursday was at 95.4%, which is really, I think, really good for virtual learning. It's very close to what we have on a normal school day, so it was nice to see that those attendance numbers were staying very similar. One of the questions we keep being asked over and over again is, when can we return back to in-person learning? When can we look to move into that hybrid model? And there's definitely some things that we are constantly looking at. One of those is the positivity rates, both in suburban Cook County, as well as Chicago Ridge and our portion of Oak Lawn. It's been nice to see over the last couple of days that in suburban Cook County, those numbers are starting to decline. On Friday, as we kind of heard through the grapevine, they did take suburban Cook County off the warning list. They went from orange to the blue status. However, in Chicago Ridge, we continue to see fairly high numbers. We were seeing as high as 14 and 15%, and then it was 12.5. Now it's back up to 14%. And the positivity rate in Oak Lawn has also been increasing quite a bit. But if you remember, one of the things that I had discussed when we looked to whether we were going to be able to stay hybrid or remote, the biggest thing was for our staffing. And we have been lucky enough that, other than myself, we are not aware of any other confirmed positive tests in the district. We have not been made aware of any students. We have not been made aware of any staff. However, we have had a lot of COVID-related quarantines that the staff has had to undergo based on the rules that IDPH and the Illinois Department of Public Health have set forward. And we've said all along that if they had a quarantine but they were well enough to teach, that we would still rather have our regular teachers teach from home during that time, assuming that they were not sick. So we've had a couple teachers who've already had to do that and come back. But those are things that we definitely have to take into account if you're in person and all of a sudden someone has to quarantine and is not allowed to come in. We do have some subs who have been in buildings just about every day, just for some of these normal things that come up during the time. But our sub list in the past has been pretty small, and this year it has shrunk even a little bit more. Just as a comparison, I know Oak Lawn has been able to stay open for the last 2.5 weeks, and I definitely applaud them. They have been able to fill their substitute rate at about 90% at this point. We were not even able to do that at this time last year. So it's something we definitely have to continue to monitor. But overall, we continue to talk. We had an administrative meeting today. We've had lots of parents who've reached out and said what a difference this experience has been from the spring, which we knew it would be. And we have to continue to reach out and make those contacts and talk with those families to see how it's working for our student population overall. I feel we can get a really good gauge of that when our students are here and to see how they're reacting. It's much more difficult to gauge that for the student after the computer is turned off and they're at home. So we have to continue to monitor that and have those conversations with our students and their families. Any questions on the school opening update? Okay. For 5.6, our approved grants. So we have our Title I and our Title II, as well as our early childhood preschool for all grants that we have done year after year. And Title I, we use partial payment for some of our paraprofessional salaries, license for some of our curriculum materials. Our Chromebook replacements usually come from that, as well as other fee and our parent liaison positions. Title II really focuses on professional development. We use it for our CPI training. We've also used it for our Partnership for Resilience membership fee. So those are the types of things we use for that. Preschool for All really runs our preschool program. And we also have a couple newer ones this year. The first one is the elementary and secondary school emergency relief. And that really is what is often referred to as the CARES money. The money that is sent to us back at the end of last year that we have, if I'm not mistaken, until September to spend next September. And we have used a lot of that on technology, looking at that kind of stuff. We spent it on sanitation and cleaning equipment, all of our sprayers and our launders, the PPE materials that we need. These are all things that we have not had to spend before, as well as our plan to hopefully offer a summer school program after this school year to bring kids in and to kind of work on some of those skills that they may not have gained while they were able to be here. So that's one of our goals there. And then finally, the last grant here is our after-school programs. And this we can use for evening events for families and for tutoring type things. This is it's a smaller grant, but it's something that we definitely feel we can use the money for in a good way. So, any questions on any of the grants? Okay. Next up is 5.7. This is the Sunrise Bus Service. You remember last year, Sunrise Bus Service asked the board to pay at least a portion of our contract with them, even though we were not using them. Also at this time last year, the Illinois State Board of Education said that they would reimburse us for our transportation, whether we used it or not, they were going to reimburse us. This year, the state of Illinois has not stated that. Sunrise has still come back to us and said, you know, you paid 40% last year. We would like you to pay, what was it this year, Kenny? 60%, even though we are not using them at this time. We have not responded at this point. We feel that, unlike last year, that they had time to plan for this, just like all other school districts. We knew we were not. No one had that chance to plan for it. We thought we would shut down for 3 months last year. Everyone in their back of their mind, we need to have a contingency plan if things continue to go on the same path. So I would recommend that the board really wait to hear if the Illinois State Board of Education is going to change their mind in any way and continue to reimburse before deciding on the amendment that Sunrise Transportation is proposing. So we do not need to take a vote on it at this time, but my recommendation is that we hold off and see if the state changes anything. If the state does not change anything, my recommendation would be that we do not pay it at this time. So, any question on the Sunrise bus service?
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
You unmute yourself?
And I'm just out of curiosity, do you know if they have kept their staff on or the staff being let go?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I had heard, and I haven't heard this specifically from them, but I had heard that they have furloughed everyone. So they are asking just to be able probably to pay administrative salaries and upkeep of their buses. And again, at this time, I would not recommend doing that.
Anytime they got it, so.
Any other questions on sunrise? And then my only other, we had a really nice letter that I received about a week ago from our chief of police, thanking us for our help during the pandemic. If you remember, when we shut down, even though we knew we were in short supply, we were able to donate all of our large bottles of hand sanitizer. I know that was really needed at the time, so it was nice to get that letter from the chief. I just wanted to share that, say I know that everyone was a little worried when we got rid of the hand sanitizer because that was our supplies, but that's the great thing about this village is that everyone helps each other out when it's needed. So, and that is it for my superintendent report. I'm going to turn it over to Kathy for her chief business report.
Okay. First thing on the agenda today is we'll be asking the board later in the evening to approve the 2020-21 school year budget. It's worked earlier. Oh, we're good.
Good.
Okay, so every year we ask ourselves, why we do a budget and what is a budget? And the budget is the school district's plan to accomplish the financial goals of the school board. The main characteristics of a budget are the estimated cash receipts, the cash disbursements, and it's very important that we look at the beginning balance of any cash on hand. So basically, the budget is a fiscal roadmap that's going to guide us through this year. The budget components are naturally the revenues, the expenses, and the fund balances. For the sources of revenue, we always talk about our state, our federal, and our local. Those are our three funding sources of revenue. Within the state sources of revenue, our primary source is the evidence-based funding. Years ago, you may recall that this was called general state aid. And what this is the state's way of funding schools. They have years ago, this is the fourth year in this program, they have divided the school districts into tiers. And right now we are in tier 1, which means we are a school that is far below the adequacy target. In FY20, we were actually 57% of adequacy. The goal, the long-term goal is to get every school within 90% of adequacy at the time the program was developed over 14 years. And right now for FY21, we're actually at 62%. So over the last years when the state has been funding, we are fortunately increasing that adequacy target rate. Now for the funding for this school year, we are budgeting exactly what we received in FY20, and that's the $10,400,000. We have always, as a school district, budgeted very conservatively. We've never taken for granted the additional Tier 1 funding money because we're very conservative. Well, this year, the state actually came out and said, we will not be getting any additional tier funding. So we will budget that $10 million for evidence-based funding. The other two sources of revenue are categorical payments, which are provided by the state. And these are our regular and special ed transportation. They're also the private facility tuition and orphanage for our special ed population, along with the state free lunch and breakfast program. And we also get a couple of grants through the state. primarily is the early childhood block grant. And we did a very small career grant, and as Dr. Thorns mentioned earlier, an after-school grant. And those in total are about $1,100,000. Federal sources of revenue, we have our Title I, Title II, and Title III. Those are our main grants. Title I is always for low income. Title II is our teacher quality, which is used for professional development. And Title III is for our English learner populations. Along with our National School Lunch Program, our School Breakfast Program, and starting during the closures after March, we enrolled in the Summer Food Service Program, which has a little bit different requirements, but it's still a funding source of revenue from the federal government. Some additional federal sources, these I kept separate because these are new to us this year. The ESSER grant is our big grant we're getting from the state, and as Dr. Thorne said, we're already starting to spend that money on PPE and things to get our buildings ready. We also are in the process, it's not been approved yet, but the state also had us apply for the elementary and secondary school relief digital equity grant. And for that grant, we included some iPads and devices for our youngest learners to help them during remote learning. And also a digital professional learning grant, which is some additional professional development. And then also an early childhood governor emergency relief grant, which is commonly known as GEAR. All four of those sources are new money at $728,000, and they're really earmarked for PPE, supplies, building readiness, digital resources, professional development. We mentioned summer school, and so that is new money revenue, but we're also anticipating spending all of that rather quickly. Okay, some revenue assumptions. Evidence-based funding, we already talked about. We're just putting in what we received last year. The property taxes, we traditionally budget for the balance of the prior year levy plus 55% of the 2020 levy. And we did bring that percentage of collections down just slightly because of the COVID and financial difficulties people might be incurring. The federal and state grants, those are good numbers. Those are provided by the federal and the states. And our categoricals, this year I went a little bit more conservative. Last year we actually received 4 categoricals, 1 from the prior year and 3 from the current year. This year I'm only budgeting for 1 from last year, which we've actually already got. We received that one in August. But we're only putting in 2 for FY21 because we really just don't know where this economy is going. And then interest on investments, I'm very happy to say we had a great return last year. Conservatively, we're going to budget for about 60% of that for this year. Okay, so now just in terms of some charts, we did a visual, I think it's just so much easier. This is our revenue source by dollars. So you can see the numbers might be a little small to read, but you can see there that the evidence-based funding, the red area, is almost $10.5 million, and that is our largest source of revenue. Next in line are our local property taxes at $7.7 million. And then you'll see the different areas of the pie charts for our other categories. And so our total budgeted revenue in total is $22.1 million. This is the same information, but just based on percentages. Evidence-based funding, 47. Our federal is 11%. Property taxes are 35%. So we do have this year another source of revenue, which I thought was certainly worth highlighting. In August, the district sold $5 million of working cash bonds. And the bond proceeds, the net proceeds from that was $5.1 million. So when we look at our fund balance on the future slides, you'll see why is our increase in fund balance so significant? And that's because of the sale of the bonds. Okay, so now we're going to move into our expense assumptions. So in this budget, there is a 3.5% increase in certified staff salaries, and that is based on the Pta collective bargaining agreement. And then there's also a $1 per hour increase for non-certified staff, which follows the current press contract. We have in here 2 additional math coaches. Hopefully someday we'll be able to use them in the capacity that we hired them for. We do have the COVID-19 expenses. I talked about that revenue. The corresponding expenses are in there as well. And I think it's worth saying that this budget is 100% of normal operating costs. We didn't predict schools opening in a week, in 2 months. There were too many variables to really quantify that. So the budget we're asking the board to approve tonight is really based on normal operating costs. And then the additional is that summer school that we put in the CARES Act. Some building improvements in the prepaid grant. We're going to start having some discussions with the board. We did this like 2 years ago with the Ridge Central Playground. We'd like to have conversations to start putting a playground in Ridge Lawn. And that would be over a 2-year period because there's not enough money in that prepaid grant to do it in 1 year. And then also we're budgeting approximately $1 million in the capital projects. We sold the bonds and we're anticipating, and this is just a very rough estimate of spending $1 million. And what that could be used for is critical infrastructure, which is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, safety, which we've actually done a little bit already, site work, building envelope, and educational environments. And we will have future conversations with our architect to develop how we're going to spend this money over the next several weeks. Okay, so same thing, expenses by fund. The red is the educational fund. As you can imagine, we're a school, so $17 million is going to be spent out of that fund. Next is the operations and maintenance fund. We spent over $2 million to keep our buildings up and running. And you'll see just the different categories of how we spend our money in terms of fund. Same thing, but percentage educational is 77%, O&M is 10%. Okay, then this is interesting because this shows us not where we spend our money, but how we spend our money. And the red, the 11,000, which is 49% of our operating budget, is salaries. And then yellow is the employee benefits, which is another $2 million. So when you combine that, we're almost spending 60% on salaries and benefits, which is consistent with the school district. Okay, so this is the normal projected fund balance I share monthly with the board. And I did a little bit of an adjustment this year because I thought it was important to point out that capital projects. So when we look at our ending cash flow, excluding our capital projects, which is going to be a line in gray, our net cash flow is $78,000. But now when you come down to the total, it looks like we're actually spending more than we're taking in. But again, that's because of the transfer of about $1 billion from working cash bonds to the capital projects. So I really just wanted to give those 2 separate line items. So our ending fund balance projected at the end of this school year is $25,700,000. Okay, so the change in fund balance is roughly $4.2 million. Of that, the 5.1 is the proceeds from the sale of bonds. And if we take out that capital expenditure of $1,000, that gives us to our operating revenue in excess of expenditures in $78,000. And that always needs to be positive, because if it's not, it means we're spending more money than we're getting in. And we never want to be in that financial position. Okay, a couple of things that are not included, any sort of additional evidence-based funding. The two categoricals from FY21, if we get them in there, that would be wonderful. And then obviously just unforeseen COVID-19 costs. We have roughly $700,000 in the budget. It waits to be seen after the end of the year how much we actually spend. Okay, so the next step is later in the meeting, we will be having a hearing, a public hearing to approve the budget. And then we will submit it to the Illinois State Board of Education on or before September 30th to be in compliance. And it will also be posted on the district website. Okay, does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, thank you.
The only thing that I would like to point out is on one of the last slides there, we don't usually include extra evidence-based funding in our projections, and usually within receiving. This year, we have already been told that that rate will be staying flat. We will not be receiving any additional evidence-based funding money, so I think that is important for us to all be on the same page.
Okay, moving along, just a couple of.
Okay, Ms. Egan has a question.
I'm sorry.
Hold on one second.
Okay. Oh, there's an echo. So you mentioned the playground at Ridge Lawn, but I believe that playground has been like an intergovernmental agreement of sorts with the park district, because there is no park over in that area for all of those students, where there are a multitude of other parks, sprinkled throughout Chicago Ridge. So is that something that would be talked to about with them first, or just going ahead and taking that over?
No, I definitely think we would have to talk with them, because you're right, it's an intergovernmental agreement. And what we're talking about now is just exploring the possibility of putting in an additional playground in that back field area. And it would normally be over a 2-year process, because there's not enough money in the grant. And I don't really know that much about that playground, but I think it's very used. It's in relatively good shape. So I really wouldn't see a need to take it down.
Okay, I guess what is the process? You're just telling us that that's something we're going to talk about in the future?
Oh, certainly. I just wanted to point it out that it is in the pre-K grant, just to start exploring that option.
But strictly just for pre-K?
Well, it would really have to be, because it's in the pre-K grant. So what we did it was a little bit easier at Ridge Central, because we were able to isolate that pre-K playground. So how we get there to where it is only pre-K students, we have to get there. Any other questions on the budget? Okay, 6.2, actually 6.2 through 6.6 are some annual housekeeping items that we need to do. 6.2 is the administrator's compensation report, and that will be posted on the district website, and that shows all administrators' salary and benefit packages for the current year. And then the same thing with 6.3, any IMRF salaried employees earning a package of more than $75,000, that also needs to be posted on the district website. And then you'll see 6.4 is the administrator and teacher salary and benefits report, and that is posted for the prior year. So that will be for FY20. Hazardous bus routes. Every year, in order to be approved for our transportation claim, we need the board to recertify those hazardous routes. And there has not been any changes to those bus routes this year, so we'll be asking the board to approve those routes. 6.6 is the school-sponsored activity list. And every year what we do is we share that list with our administrators, and any new programs are added and old ones that are no longer being utilized are deleted. And we also do have a disclosure that if an activity is new during the school year, that we would go ahead with that program as well.
So we'll get up and just move.
Oh,
Thank you.
I've talked enough. Okay, 6.7 is our remote learning meal services. I just really wanted to share with the board that we will continue meal distributions at bulk at Ridge 1 and Ridge Central. For the first week and through this week, we only made pickup hours from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Our logic being is that is prior to the children having to start their school day. But what we're finding is we have some parents kind of wanting to come a little bit early, some later. So I just wanted to hear comments from the board if we would be okay in expanding those hours from 7:30 to 9:30. So we would be basically doubling the hours to accommodate our family pickup. And then also, we would be asking the board to continue with the summer food service program. And it's what we did since the closure, and what it is it provides meals 6 days a week rather than 5. And it also is open to the community of anyone 18 years and younger. And so we'd be asking the board just their thoughts on continuing with that process. Any questions on that? Okay, so then the supplemental coronavirus sanitation service request for proposal. Okay, so what we did last month is we requested companies to submit requests for proposals for the cost of cleaning and sanitizing our buildings. Outsourcing is nothing really the district ever wants to do, but we really felt it was prudent to just know our options. So we actually had 6 companies submit proposals, a wide range of costs, anywhere from $15 an hour to $39 an hour. And these companies would provide individuals per our schedules, and they would work an 8-hour day, but they would be employees of the company. Now, the timing of this RFP really couldn't have been worse, because I really don't see the need for that at this point, with us being 100% remote learning. But if we do, or when we go hybrid, and then even better, bring all the kids back, I think we have a couple of companies out there that are worth taking a second look at. Okay. I do not have any other.
Nothing? New business? Okay.
Now you gotta unmute yourself, Nancy.
What?
You gotta unmute yourself.
Oh. Okay, annual budget hearing for Chicago School District 127.5 FYI 21 budget. Motion. Okay. Second time, annual budget hearing. Any questions, right? Any questions from anyone? Okay. Second time, annual budget hearing for Chicago School District 127.5. Any questions? Okay. Anybody else have any questions for the annual budget or schools? Now, okay, need a motion, please. To adopt the school year 2021 budget.
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2021 approval.
Second.
I can just clarify.
Here's a, we need a second.
Chair's on the motion. Need a second. There is a lot of noise happening. It's good today.
I'm gonna ask Mr. Belichick to come in here. I know we'll have an echo, we have a lot of votes we're gonna take, and, Mr. Nervous, we'll be able to get through. And then keep pace. The next one, come back.
I'm getting my card. Okay, so we have Mrs. Egan. On the vote? On the vote. Mrs. Egan, I'm gonna say is an aye. She's on mute.
She said aye.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Callen?
Aye.
Ms. Davenport? Aye. Mrs. Petropoulos?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mrs. Salzer?
Aye. Okay, attention board action to approve Title 1, Supplemental, Title 2, and early childhood. Preschool for elementary, secondary school emergency relief grant. That's it. In motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion. Motion.
So need a second.
What is the score? Can you repeat that?
You want to know what? You need to read it.
Okay.
You repeat the word this is motion for?
Right now. Attention board action to approve Title 1, Title 2, and the early childhood. ESSER, the early childhood grant. ESSER.
Was there a second? Second?
Need a second.
I'll second.
Ms. Davenport? Aye. Mrs. Petropoulos?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Callen? Mrs. Egan?
Aye.
Mrs. Salzer?
Aye. Right. Attention board action to approve hazardous walking routes for school year 2021.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second motion.
Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Ms. Davenport? Aye. Mrs. Callen?
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos?
Aye.
Mrs. Egan? Mrs. Salzer?
Mrs.
Salzer?
Aye. Okay, attention board action to approve school sponsored activities list. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Hellman?
Aye.
Mrs. Egan? Mrs. Petropoulos?
Aye.
Ms. Davenport? Aye. Mrs. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Callen?
Aye.
Mrs. Salzer?
Aye. Attention board action to retroactively approve quotes split from, IT Savvy totaling $12,575.56 for For high definition document for system remote learning. Need a motion?
I'll second. Mary.
Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mr. Hillman.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Egan.
Aye.
Ms. Davenport. Aye. And Mrs. Salter.
Aye. Potential board action to retroactively approve payment to Zoom for video conferencing services for the district at a cost of $1,070.
I'll make a motion.
Yes.
I'll second it. Mrs. Callen.
Aye.
Ms. Davenport. Aye. Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mr. Hillman.
Aye.
Mrs. Egan.
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye.
Mrs. Salter.
Aye. Potential board action to approve policies for the first reading.
I just wanted to run through some of these policies. You'll see that we have quite a few. The vast majority of them deal with the new laws in Title IX. You'll see for 2265, some of them are very basic questions. Does the district employ assistant principals? Does the district employ even students? Will the district use a live hearing during the grievance process? The administrative recommendation be no. Which standard of proof has the board adopted for policy 2265? We would recommend the preponderance of evidence. And then you'll see, moving through, they ask for who the non-discrimination and Title IX coordinators will be. They do not need to be the same person. I am recommending that Carrie Hilligans be the Title IX coordinator, and then that would make me the non-discrimination coordinator, and the superintendent would then have the final say on any hearing. 510 really explains, again, will be those two titles. 5100 is the staff development program, discusses the trainings that are required. Our admin team and our staff went through that training during our first week of school. And then 520 is workplace harassment is prohibited. It updates Title IX requirements. 5220 has nothing to do with Title IX. It actually rolls over for substitutes that used to only be able to work 100 days for it not to count against their TRS. It now extends till July 1st if they can work 120 days. That's one of ISB's ways of trying to help with the teacher and substitute shortage. 5330 is something we've talked about quite a bit, that adds 2020 election day as a holiday. Remember that is November 3rd. 710, does the board want to incorporate ISB sample district policy and administrative procedures policy recommended in this policy? After talking with our attorney, the recommendation is no. We already currently have a gender identity in our policy, and legally we don't need to further flesh out that definition. And then 720, 7180, and 7185 are all again updating language associated with Title IX. So we are looking for potential board action, if there are no questions, to approve policies for a first reading.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Egan.
She said,
Aye.
Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Callen. Ms. Davenport.
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos.
Aye.
Mr. Hillman.
Aye.
Mrs. Salter.
Aye.
yep.
Okay, meeting reports Nothing informational? Nothing other? Opportunity for visitors to speak. Any of our visitors like to say something? Yep. Kathy?
Kathy, if
Do
you
you want me
want.
to stand or?
Yeah, we can set you up, all that. I want to let the board know we do have one visitor who would like to speak, Kathy Higgins. I'm going to just bring my laptop over there so that everyone is able to hear that. Okay.
Ready? Good evening. My name is Kathy Higgins, and I am considered a full-time employee of the district for almost 28 years as lunch personnel. I'm here today to address the plans going forward for the district's lunch program. In March, when we were shut down due to COVID pandemic, myself and all lunch employees were directed to pass out meals to the community and students. During this time, from March until early June, we were paid our full salaries. For me, that was 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. I worked outside in the snow, the rain, the cold, and extreme heat. Not only were we passing out meals and milk, we were addressing parents' concerns as well as questions regarding school reopening, pre-K students, and Chromebook pickups. I was approached regarding working through the summer months, which began in June and lasted through the end of August. I understood that I would only be paid for 3 hours, 1 or 2 days per week. I accepted knowing that I did not work normally during the summer months, and a few extra dollars would be helpful. Recently, I was informed that going forward that there is a discussion that I will not be paid my 6 hours, 5 days a week. And now food distribution hours, we were told, was going to be decreased from 3 hours to 2.5 hours. I am confused as to why the lunch staff hours have not yet been reinstated since summer lunch distribution has ended and the new school year has begun. We were compensated full hours and days from March until early June. As to my knowledge, no other group has been targeted for any loss of time or wages other than the lunch personnel. What is the difference between the full compensation from March until June and now? My concern to you now is my health insurance and my IMRF retirement. I rely solely on school insurance as my husband has recently retired. Going forward, there is an unknown about my hours, my salary, my health benefits, and my IMRF retirement. I have been employed by the district for 28 years. When making your decision, please know that the lunch staff is a dedicated group, and we have gone over and above what we were asked to do. I am proud to say I work with such a great group of people that we are all on the same page, as we serve approximately 1,000 children in this district on a daily basis in one school year. I am willing to do any job that may be asked of me in order to receive my insurance and benefits until we finally get back to our normal school setting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? I can do it. Okay, President Pryor. Okay, for today's President's Project, this has been, these last 7 months now, have been unprecedented. We all know this. We've all been through a lot of stuff in these months. People we know getting sick, I've been lucky, I haven't gotten sick. I needed family deaths, and I know some people that have. It's a horrible situation, and the best we can do is roll with the punches. And this school has, and I've talked, I know people in other districts, and Dr. Lawrence has talked to a number of supervisors in other districts. And the school has done a really good job rolling with the punches. And that is due to the very hard work of Dr. Lawrence, even working through being sick, never stopped, couldn't believe it. I know his life is happening. But also due to the rest of you, all staff, but the administrative staff, to the lunch hostesses, to the pickets, Gino, you know, your staff, I mean, all of you, all the teachers. Everybody has put in a ton of effort to make the start of this school year, in spite of the difficulties, good. I had an opportunity to talk to a pretty good handful of parents in the neighborhood as I was out walking. I know we have some parents here on the school board, so they can attest to, is it perfect? Absolutely not. There's been very complaints, major complaints. I don't think there has been.
There have been some points.
Yeah, not like
But they're all into.
right, okay. So, and I know a few of the other board members have talked to parents in the area, and they're like, compared to the spring, it's like heads above. So thank you so much for making this a really good rollout for the new school year. And hopefully we can reassess our hand for the first trimester, because nobody wants this to last forever. We need to. Thank you.
We're going to look for a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussion of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. However, the meeting to consider an increase in compensation of a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this act as defined in the Open Meetings Act, Section 2C1. Discussion of collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or the representatives, and deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees as described in Section 2C2. Probable and imminent litigation against affecting or on behalf of the district as defined in Section 2C11. The discussion of minutes of prior meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act as defined in Section 2C21 for the purpose of review, approval, or release of such minutes. We will not discuss security measures, as well as there will be no discussion of student disciplinary action.
I'll second the motion.
I can do the first.
Mistake.
Thank you. Ms. Davenport? Aye. Mrs. Petropoulos?
Aye.
Mr. Novak?
Aye.
Mrs. Lample?
Aye.
Mrs. Gallen?
Aye.
Mrs. Egan? Aye. Mrs. Salzer?
Aye.
Thank you. Coming up to the board meeting, which is in a couple minutes, so we were, later here.
You're fine,
I
please. This is designed to social distance, so we're technically compliant anyway, right? Yeah, great.
We're going to go ahead and begin the meeting in just a second, but just be aware we are anticipating that the sound will continue in here, so we will do our best to go through it.
I have to unmute, I gotta do all these potential actions.
Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, and Mrs. Salzer is going to go ahead and begin with 14.1.
Okay, we're gonna read a bunch of motions on a number of items. Potential action on personnel consent agenda. All of them have been listed already and are in the record, so we need a motion on all of these new employees. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Petropolis.
Aye.
Mrs. Callen.
Aye.
Mr. Hillman.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamel.
Aye.
Mrs. Egan.
Aye.
Ms. Davenport.
Aye.
And Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Okay, potential action on 14.3, to retroactively approve one-year leave of absence request for Mary Barker, her professional at New Central, beginning August 17th.
Well, I'll make the motion.
Davenport and Egan with the second. Mrs. Callen.
Aye.
Ms. Davenport.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamel.
Aye.
Mr. Hillman.
Aye.
Mrs. Egan.
Aye. Aye.
Mrs. Petropolis.
Aye.
Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Okay, potential board action on 14.4, to retroactively approve contract for SLPs to provide speech language pathologists in the amount of $87,480. Motion.
Motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Hillman.
Aye.
Mrs. Egan.
Aye.
Mrs. Petropolis.
Aye.
Ms. Davenport.
Aye.
Mrs. Lamel.
Aye.
Mrs. Callen.
Aye.
And Mrs. Salzer.
Aye. Potential board action, 14.5, to approve contract with Procure Therapy to provide staffing for special education teacher in the amount of $27,843.75. Motion.
I'll make the motion.
Petropolis for the second. Mrs. Lamel.
Aye.
Mr. Hillman.
Aye.
Ms. Davenport.
Aye.
Mrs. Callen.
Aye.
Ms. Petropolis.
Aye.
Mrs. Egan.
Aye.
And Mrs. Salzer.
Aye.
For 14.6, it is potential board action to retroactively approve a contract with Aya Healthcare to provide staffing for a special education teacher in the amount of, the original amount was $29,328.75. That was put in for 12 weeks. The contract was actually for a full year. So the full year contract price, which will be reflected in the minutes, is $94,385.25. We are looking for a motion.
I'll make
I'll second it.
Ms. Davenport.
Aye.
Mrs. Petropolis.
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Lample,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Sulzer.
Aye. 14.7, suggestion board action to approve 12 days of vacation carryover for Gino Cano,
Yep.
until 12/31. Motion.
I'll second it.
Next.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Lample,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
and Mrs. Sulzer.
Aye. 14.8, potential board action on resolution using closed session minutes, and the structure of verbatim warnings 18 months or older. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mrs. Lample, second. Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Aye.
Mrs. Lample,
Aye.
Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
and Mrs. Sulzer.
Aye. 14.9, potential, no.
All the way down to zero.
Oh, I got weird. Wait, sorry guys. Okay, and now we're adjourning at,
We don't need a motion, we have to vote.
Wait.
what?
Did we go through all of the FMLAs?
We don't have to approve any but the year long for Mary Barker.
The one that was not posted, but just FMLA, we don't need to approve that?
No.
Okay.
So, motion for adjournment.
I make a motion.
Second motion.
We got that, but it's, okay. Hey, Mrs. Callen,
Aye.
Ms. Davenport,
Aye.
Mrs. Lample,
Aye.
Mr. Hillman,
Aye.
Mrs. Egan,
Aye.
Mrs. Petropoulos,
Aye.
and Mrs. Sulzer.
Okay. Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, I'm gonna go, pause.
Like the meeting.